So here it is, the new OM-1 camera from OM System, formerly known as Olympus. It is a brand new camera, but looking at it, well, things look pretty familiar. It's still got the same extreme weather sealing. It's got a familiar layout, although there is a new button on the back, the AF on button. Of course, on the inside, everything's changed. Let's start with the viewfinder. It's gone up to 5.7 million dots. It has a refresh rate of 120 frames per second. It's beautifully sharp and beautifully smooth. But of course, it's not really the EVF that's the exciting bit, it's the sensor. They really needed a new sensor for this camera, and that's what we've got. It's still a 20 million pixel sensor, and I'll be honest, I'm absolutely fine about that. That's a perfect number for this camera. However, it is a backside illuminated quad pixel stacked sensor, which basically means, well, the backside illuminated means it's really fast to read the data out. The quad pixel part is all about the pixels being excellent autofocus in low light and low contrast situations. But that's not all, because the camera now has 1053 autofocus points, which is, to give you some perspective, 10 times more than it had before. And not only that, they are all cross-type and phase detect autofocus points. And they cover 100% of the viewfinder. The entire viewfinder is covered in autofocus points. And you can arrange them in different shapes and patterns. It's really customizable. A new sensor needs a new, more powerful processor, and that's exactly what we've got in here. So previously there was a TruePic 8 or 9, depending which camera you had. This is a TruePic X, not 10, it's X. Fast processor makes everything about this work quicker, and I do mean everything from autofocus, which can be calculated 3 times faster, to computational photography, which to you and me is high-res shots or focus stacking, which can be done in camera at twice the speed of the predecessor. And then there is dynamic range. It improves the dynamic range by 1 whole stop. Alongside the new OM-1 camera, OM System has also launched 2 new lenses. So there is an upgrade to my favourite lens, the 12 to 40mm f2.8 Mark II, and a brand new 40 to 150mm f4. Full details of the lenses can be found on Adorama, and you'll find a link in the description. One of the biggest improvements for me as a portrait photographer from the new processor and the new sensor is the vastly improved face and eye detect. It was good before, now it's absolutely amazing. Pretty much the rest of the adjustments, however, are definitely aimed at sports photographers, wildlife photographers, outdoor photographers, and videographers. But perhaps the most impressive spec is actually the sheer speed of this camera when it comes to taking still images. So flat out, this camera can take 120 frames per second. Wow, okay, what about continuous autofocus? Well, that does drop down a little bit. It drops to just a mere 50 frames per second in continuous autofocus. What are you going to do with 50 frames per second? Let me know in the comments below, I'd love to know. And that can be combined with the new subject detection, which means that the camera will automatically find things in the viewfinder, such as planes and trains, cats and dogs, and of course birds, and you can either lock onto those or have the camera just continuously focus on them. One of my favourite features of the new camera is the built-in ND effect. The new camera has increased its ability. It now goes up to ND64, which is the equivalent of 6 stops, and it gave some beautiful, smooth, long exposure pictures. It works seamlessly. All of my videos for Adorama TV have been recorded on Olympus cameras for years. So I can say with some authority that video and Olympus is okay. This is a different story. This has got loads of great video features packed in. So first of all, there is 60 frames a second in 4K and C4K. Full HD jumps all the way up to 240 frames per second, which is beautiful slow-mo, and that happens straight out of camera. You don't have to do any further editing to them. As well as H.264, there's now H.265 as an option, and you can record all the way up to 422 10-bit using the camera on its own, but if you attach an external recorder, that jumps to 444 12-bit RAW files. And then there is a host of small changes that just make a big difference. So there are things like zebra stripes for getting your highlights right. There's no longer the 30-minute time limit. You can just keep recording for as long as your memory card goes or your battery lasts. And then there's a really small thing, which is they've put a little red box around the viewfinder when you actually press record. So thank you, OM system. That's a nice little touch. So as you can tell, this is the ultimate Micro Four Thirds camera that couldn't possibly be any better. No. So let's start with the screen at the back, because I use the screen almost more than I use the viewfinder, and still there is no pinch to zoom. It's a new screen, it's got more dots, it's sharper, it's clearer. Just give me pinch to zoom. Maybe a firmware update, I don't know. Then there is the battery. Olympus have been really good actually. They've kept the same battery for years, but it's got to that time, new camera, new battery. Yes, you get more photos. Yes, you get a longer video record on it. However, what you won't find in the box is a traditional battery charger. And the camera doesn't need one. It has a USB-C port on the side, which is also a charging port. And there is a fast charger in the box. So that's all good. But if, like me, you have multiple batteries, then you can get the optional multi-battery charger, which I think will be the first thing I will do. Now, I've only had it for a short time, but if you're thinking, should you upgrade from your OMD EM1 Mark II or Mark III, yes, you should. I mean, I can see huge advantages to this camera for pretty much every type of photographer, including me. Now, I haven't had time to go through everything in this video. There's loads of things I've missed out. I mean, just the new improved menu system on its own is worth a mention. If you want to check out other features of the brand new OM system, OM-1, then check out the link below to Adorama, where you'll find full details. I'm Gavin Hoey. Thanks for watching.